Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, November 21st. It is now 7:30 PM. Town Council meeting in Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Councilman Licciardi?
Here.
Councilman Messier?
Here.
Councilman Padula?
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
There is a quorum. Public comment, comments will only be addressed to the Town Council, who will take them under further advisement.
Any public comment? Helene? Hi. How are you?
Great. Helene Anderson, 650 East Greenwich Avenue, West Warwick. And I'd like to address the 5-year plan that you guys worked so hard on 4 years ago, and we probably need to re-baseline it. So I'm requesting that you set up a committee to re-baseline that 5-year plan, and now that we know more than we did 4 years ago, let's develop a plan that's going to be more successful.
And thank you for that advice. I know Ernie's working on this year's budget that he just happened to come in midway through, so he'll be coming back to us within the next month and then he'll be looking at obviously future budgets also, so we'll be going from there. Thank you. Any other public comment?
Seeing we're on public comment, I know the finance director just getting in place, Ernie just got in place, but I want a breakdown of how we overspent our budget, where it went, what departments it went to, and who approved it. I just want to break down whether it's, I'm saying 7 million, whether it's 4 million, 2 million, 3 million. The council deserves that information. The taxpayers, the employees, we all deserve that information. And I'm gonna start, I get 1 million calls a day, well, not 1 million, I get maybe 5 or 6 calls a day. Where the money went, who approved it, what departments it was spent on, what we were shortfall in, what we overspent on, and who okayed the move of the money. So that shouldn't be a problem, right, Ernie?
Currently,
Not being the financial whiz that you are.
well, currently what we're doing is finalizing the FY17 audit, and we're hopeful that it will be completed by December 31st. There's still some tasks to be done. Once the audit is completed, certainly copies will be forwarded to the council, the Auditor General, will be on websites, and then you'll be able to see where 17 was, what was budgeted, what was spent. So all that information, for the most part, will be there, as well as, you know, the auditors will, I believe, be in for a presentation to the council, so questions can be asked of the auditors as to FY17 and what they found. And if they found any citations or any management comments, they will be forwarding that to the council as well. So a lot of the information that you've alluded to will be contained in the 17 audit.
Along with who approved taking money for unrestricted fund or whatever, how much was withdrawn from that unrestricted fund, rainy day fund, I call rainy day fund. Everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say that. I want to know who approved it, if there was 100,000 taken out or 5 million.
Well, any changes in any of the accounts reserves will be reflected in the audit, because they'll take 16 and 17 and there'll be differences, so that will be reflected in the audit.
And then I guess our auditors with a push of a button can give me that information.
Well, certainly any information that they have that you know, is responsive to requests of yourself and the council, they certainly should be available to, you know, answer questions.
That's in January. That they'll be coming to see
Well,
the council.
If the audit is completed by December 31st, then I believe historically or in the past they have scheduled a meeting for the council.
They come before the council.
Right, to review with a PowerPoint presentation, as well as you'd have the current documents.
The problem is we usually get handed it that night, so you really don't have that much time to physically go through it.
Well, could we request it ahead of time so we
Yes.
could review it? Yeah.
You should have it ahead of time.
Okay. Thank
That's
you.
all I have.
Town Manager's report.
Are we still looking for public comment?
Go ahead.
Ernie, with due respect, I've looked at the previous audits, and they're just not explaining where this money has gone. And so I'm not holding out any hope that the current audit is going to explain where this money has gone. I think you know, there's a limit to what an auditor can do without you know, doing a deep forensic dive into the system, and we're not paying for that, so.
Take you home.
I'll get an answer.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, town manager's report.
Yes, good evening. A few items. Our new tax assessor started yesterday, Sal Sakuchios, with, again, a tremendous amount of experience as an assessor, so we're happy to have him on board. One of the major tasks coming up in 2018 is a statistical update, reval update. By state general laws, there are the revals are on a 9-year cycle. Year 3 is a statistical update. Year 6 is a statistical update, which is 2018. And then 2021 is a full revaluation. So we will be conducting a statistical reval in 2018 to develop the tax base as of December 31st, 2018 for the tax year, believe it or not, fiscal year 20. So a little ways off, but that will be occurring in 2018. And the good news is, under current state law, the state will reimburse the town a amount for the per parcel amount. So hopefully quite a bit of that cost will be funded by the state unless there's a change somehow in the upcoming General Assembly. So another bit of news is with the motor vehicle revised bills. We are still on schedule to have those sent out in early December, so that's a good thing. So the taxpayers will have their bills in December, with the payment date is in January as normal. So they'll be receiving revised bills, lower bills, for the third and fourth quarter, reflecting what payments have been made up to date. If anyone had paid in full, then they will receive a rebate or a refund from the town. Once the bills go out and the commitment's made that anyone who prepaid will get a reimbursement, we're eligible to receive our reimbursement from the state of about $539,000, and that schedule would be for February 1st. So that's progressing well. The final thing is that at the last meeting there was some discussion regarding street lighting and PRISM. I had a meeting today with the executive director of PRISM, and we discussed 3 major issues. General maintenance, which is replacement of burnt out lights, the double pole situation, and new street lights. I believe progress has been made on these issues. One of the things I've asked for is a complete listing of any outstanding requests we have for street lights, so we can determine, what is out there. I've been told there's about 40 street lights that, need general maintenance. And some of those are the standard replacement of the LED lights, which should be done within that 5 working day period. I've been told that some of these lights require more work. There may be repairs to be made. But what I wanted to see, and what the town had received, was a list of all the outstanding lights we have and what the status is of them. And they agreed to provide me with that type of information. Double pole situation was explained to me was when the double poles, when Narragansett changes the lights, sometimes they'll tape them to the bottom, sometimes, they'll throw them down, I guess. Of course, this is what PRISM says.
They throw them in on the lawn, they just,
That's
Yeah.
what I try to be nice.
depends on what mood they're
Hang
in.
it.
And they break them sometimes.
Eyesores.
So PRISM says, relate to me, that once they are notified, they can go within 5 business days now and put those up. They did have a problem with their maintenance subcontractor. They were behind. They've caught up. So this is what they have said. The other thing was about new streetlights installations, which have gone on a long time, languished for quite a while. And there's a new procedure in place recently between Narragansett, I keep on saying Narragansett, National Grid, and PRISM.
That's us old timers.
Yeah, well, I'm an old timer, yeah. You're correct. So now, before, PRISM could not touch a Narragansett Electric, National Grid, Verizon pole. So now there's a new protocol where PRISM can put the light up. and then the paperwork will be submitted, and then their National Grid will go and do whatever they need to do to hook up the light. So it will be quicker, but yet still between National Grid receiving and installing or doing what they need to do to effectuate the street light being on, could be 6 to 8 weeks because they put it into the work order process, which is the entire state of Rhode Island.
Which is long, I mean, because David, how long have you been waiting on yours?
So actually, the light was installed today. The
Was it-
constituent sent me a picture of him working on it,
Okay.
and so.
That had been like 7 months. Do you know, can you,
6 months, yeah.
And I've been
Moschetti Court was one that I had on there. Can you inquire about that one?
what was the name of that?
Moschetti Court, it's
Yes.
Moschetti, I believe.
Yes. And I've been in contact with our rep in Narragansett Electric, and she's indicated that these older installations, she will try to expedite through their design and review process because they have languished quite a while. So I've been in contact with her regularly. I will be in contact with her regularly. The way I left it with Prism is that if you supply us with the information as to what is outstanding, what the current events are, what current situation is, and if we see progress in these other items, and they are being replaced in 5 days, then I would recommend that we continue to, pay past invoices. So we agreed to meet in a few weeks to review progress.
It's amazing how fast they respond when you
Yeah.
Paying no
send a
money.
letter saying you're not gonna pay them anymore,
Right,
huh?
and then we have a meeting today and the light goes up, so. But anyway, but again,
Lights on.
they do appear to be willing to meet, to address the concerns, and they indicated themselves that,
Now,
the commitment of 5 days should be met going forward.
now, Ernie, I know you weren't part of when they first came into town. Part of their agreement was, when they're all said and done, we'll be able to have a program right here in the town, which somebody would be responsible for, that would be able to tell you if a light's out, you can dim lights, you can brighten lights, and you'd have the software and the program to do that. Where do we stand on that?
I know that's still an ongoing project for them. I don't recall the completion date, but it is ongoing as far as that process goes, because they have to put certain pieces of equipment on the lines. And but I will get an update for you as to where that stands and when they can anticipate completion of it.
So none of them are connected online right now? Because I thought some of them were. They still have to manually go to each light if they want to
Yes.
like lower or
Did they
dimmer.
have a time restraint on that?
There's I wanna say it looks like a hockey puck. It needs to be installed on each light
Right.
afterwards.
But
And
within
that
so
basically
much,
speaks to each other
Because
wireless.
this was supposed to be, I mean, this goes back to a year ago when I first started on the council, that it was supposed to
Almost 2
already,
years now.
that it was, all right, but it was supposed to be on by then at least, so.
and while we're on streetlights, Ernie, the windstorm, a neighbor's tree fell on, and thank God that the kids didn't have school that day. They were off. It would have crushed the kids at the same time that the kids were meeting at the bus stop. It's a street light on Crossland Road and Maywood. It took all the wires down and it destroyed the light, and they picked it up, and that light has not been replaced. Now, I spoke to Dave Lombari for the cause of the damage. Our guys did a great job, by the way. They had to cut the tree across the road. These trees were rotted. He was warned a few times to take these trees down. He didn't, so instead of us paying the bill, the taxpayers, I think we should recoup that money when Dave figures out what it costs us for man hours and send that bill to his homeowners.
We already sent the invoice.
Okay, thank you. So you didn't keep me informed, so I didn't know. But the street light also. That's all I have on that.
Ernie, anything else for your report?
Oh, that is it.
Any
Ernie,
questions for Ernie?
Yeah, I have a question. It's all related, but this is way off the topics that we've talked about. Because it's been brought up to me a few times when it actually came out on an agenda. School teachers' contracts. It's all gonna be brought to us. Do you know anything about what is going on with that?
They ratified last Tuesday.
What percentage?
So, I'll let Ernie explain it, but, it was brought to my attention also. Obviously, we get sent from Michelle, the school committee agendas, so I had read it on the agenda. I reached out to a school committee member. We went back and forth on the phone for a few minutes, and then I brought the concern up to the council and to Ernie. Ernie met with the superintendent last week, and I had about a 10-minute conversation. So Ernie, if you'd like to share that.
Right, I believe the contracts are ratified. The basic framework is a 5-year contract. The salary increases, wage increases are 2%, 2%, 1.5%, and wage reopener. There was some contractual language that benefited the school department as to class size. And
I know you weren't here. I wasn't, the three of us weren't here for the 5-year plan, the adoption of it. So if, I don't know, Dave, Angelo, if you guys could confirm this. You know, last year, I met with Fred Presley last year, and one of the questions I had to him was about raises for municipal employees,
Right.
fire, police. And Fred had told me that there were 5 unions, and in order for one to get an increase, whatever it was, 1%, 2%, 10%, they all had to get the same thing. And he identified those unions as police, fire, municipal, retirees, and teachers. So I'm not opposed to anybody getting a raise, please, but I had the impression that I was told, either one gets it or
No.
they all get it or nobody gets it.
So let me just clarify something. First of all, the school department had a 5-year contract, and it wasn't due until sometime in 2018. When they ratified this contract, they ratified it last Tuesday, which now they canceled the last year of their contract and started their new contract now. So they will be receiving a 2% pay increase this year, which was actually a year earlier. So now the contract starts a year earlier, which should have been until 2018. That was one of my concerns also, because we're sitting here on our end, and we've had employees who haven't had a raise in 5, 6, some 7 years. And so obviously it puts a lot of tension and stress on us, because as we're worried about collection rates of taxes and not overspending and overtime, so on, the big difference between the school department and us is they know they're getting their money from us. That dollar amount, because it's state law. And maintenance of effort. Karen, at my conversations with her, is she says she's coming for $0, 0 increase from the next 2 years on the school budget from us,
Even with that raise?
even with those 2 raises.
Now, Ernie, can you speak to, isn't there funding coming from the state of about $900,000 because of underprivileged communities?
Well, I just want to clarify, and I'm not looking to rehash any headaches or anything like that. The school department has had a surplus for the last 3 years. We're all well aware of that surplus of upwards of $3 million. It was brought to everybody's attention here as new council people. It's been brought up every single year. Going back to 2012, when we said cut the 5%, add the dollars. Okay, we were told we couldn't. We got crucified up there as a council. You 3 were not here. And basically, the general public said they voted down our budget and they want us to re-implement the 5%. The council re-implemented the 5%. Now they have a surplus. They've taken that surplus over the past 3 or 4 years, done improvements up there, roofs, lighting, fire, sprinkler systems. They've taken all that money and have been able to maintain their buildings and upgrade the area. The track was a big one. You know, the Friday night lights, the new lights up there. So they've taken all that surplus and have taken that money and did improvements. Now that the improvements are done, they have said they had the extra money to give increases to the teachers, and they will not be looking for another dollar from us for at least 2 years.
Correct.
Am I correct on that?
That's correct.
So they're going to be level funded for the next 2. Now, what happens in year 3, 4, and 5? I don't know, but the next 2 years, they come back level funded.
Well, that's up to us, whether they're level funded or not.
Well,
We don't have to,
It's maintenance of effort, Angela. We can't
Right.
cut it.
no, I'm saying, whatever they had 2 years ago, what they had last year and what they're gonna have this year, in 2 years, because if those raises cost another $1 million, we are not obligated to give them that $1 million to go towards maintenance of effort. They have to
No,
live within their means.
That's what I'm saying, right now, for the next 2 years, they're asking for $0 from us, they're gonna maintain those raises within their budget. That's what I'm
Until,
saying. In 3 years from now, they could come to us and ask us for 900, we could say no.
and then,
4 years, the same thing, 5 years, but I'm just gonna say, it'd probably be
but
the
then
same
the
as
option that the
2012.
school has is Carullo. And with Carullo, I think being in the financial mess that we're in, knowing that we're in that mess and there's no sight of getting out of it right now, I don't think, well, I'm not gonna think what a judge thinks, but, I mean, if they're making their bed, if the finances stay the way they are, there's no way that we can pay them 5.5% rate increases when our people, police, fire, municipal, department heads, didn't get any raise at all. So it's not fair to give up the hill, and down the hill we stay lower class. So if we're gonna break the bank, and I'm not against giving people raises, but when we're in trouble, it's like when you're at home. You wanna eat steak every day, but once in a while you gotta eat beans. So I don't think we should eat beans all the time and feed steak up on the hill. That's my opinion. And if I have to vote on giving increases in salaries, if you wanna make it go broke fast, I'm all for it.
Seems like a slap in the face to all of our employees.
Exactly.
That's what I think. But we have no say in that, so. Thank you, Arnie.
I actually have a quick question, maybe of the solicitor, as far as the basic education plan. My understanding is they cannot enact the Carullo action unless we violate the BEP. Is that correct?
No.
That's
The
not
basic,
correct.
the
No.
basic education plan can be interpreted by the Department of Education, and 99 times out of 100, the Department of Education will rule in favor of the schools. The Carullo Act is simply a maintenance of effort. If,
Okay.
in the event the town does not provide the
You
money
don't
that
maintain
the
that level.
No. If they provide it, it's fine. If the schools come in and say, we need another $3.2 million, like they did back in 2009, and the town says no, because there's not gonna be an increase, not gonna be additional taxes, the town's municipal police and fire unions have not had any raises, now they can take us to court. But the way it's supposed to work is, Carullo was first fashioned that you would go to court usually in May, June, or July, prior to the school year starting. In the last 5 Carullos, what the schools have done was go right through the entire year, and usually in the 10th month of the school year, try to begin the process to try to squeeze the towns. But what has happened is that we've learned how to fight them and beat them at their own game. So the last 2 cases with Cranston and West Warwick, the school departments lost, because they didn't take care of business. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if they were to file Carullo in the next couple of years, they still have the burden of doing certain things. For example, there have not been any layoff notices that have been sent out by the West Warwick Public Schools since 2009. Their enrollment has been dropping. So the question is, do they still require the same personnel? They're gonna fire back that under No Child Left Behind, under some of the federal rules and regulations, some of the issues as pertains to the definition of what a special needs child is. They're gonna fight back with all of that, but right now, the town is not in that bad of a position as it relates to a Carullo action, much like we were back in 2008 and 2009, so, but hopefully it won't come to that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Minutes of the previous meeting, resolve the minutes of the November 7th, 2017 executive session and the November 7th, 2017 town council meeting are hereby accepted.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Consent agendas. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. There are a ton of licenses. I'm not reading them all. They've all been approved.
Can we clarify that it's Family Dollar that's going over it? And everybody's asking about that giant building, the beautiful,
I'm done
beautiful metal.
explaining it.
Yeah.
I can only say.
I'm just
Family
explaining it
Dollar.
on the record here. It's a Family Dollar that's going over there next to the old Domino's.
Consent agendas, correspondence, resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred by proper department to proper departments and being disposed or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance number 2017-17, second reading, sponsored by Councilman Padula, an ordinance amending Chapter 11 Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 34, routes where trucks prohibited in Appendix C of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of West Warwick.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving seconded,
Again,
discussion?
this is the second reading about where they missed signs on Wakefield Street. They missed the name of the street, just clearing it up. Nothing different.
Thank you. Roll call vote, Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Rhode Island Tax and Title Contract Extension. To resolve, the Town Council hereby approves a one-year contract extension for Rhode Island Tax and Title for annual tax sale, with all items of the prior contract remaining the same.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving seconded, Rose? How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I just wanted to get your approval on the extension for our tax sale attorney. That's all this is.
Now, why do we need an extension?
Well, because our contract, we went out to bid, so the contract ended, so we just want to get your approval.
No one else bid?
Well, we haven't gone out to bid. It's like, we want to keep them. And I know that because it's legal services, we don't have to go out to bid, correct?
No, but what, the contract that was signed left an extension year open to allow for the last year, and then if there was gonna be a renegotiated contract, they would be seeking another 3-year with an extension. So this is technically the 4th year, and they've been doing a great job.
Excellent job.
Same cost.
Much, yeah.
Same cost.
Everything's still the same, and the efficiency of this particular firm has been outstanding as compared to others. So my recommendation, after reviewing this, given the fact that it's the same terms and conditions, they're not seeking anything more or anything less, would have the council approve it.
Any comment from the council? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Appointments, reappointments. Municipal Court Judge, resolved that the Town Council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as the Municipal Court Judge for the Town of West Warwick, effective January 1, 2018, for a term of 5 years to expire January 1, 2023.
I'll move the resolution for discussion.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. We have two individuals that put in for this. One is Ray Lambert and one is Norman Landroche. You know, we've met in executive session, we had a discussion. You know, I'm still up in the air on both individuals. And I personally, Jay, you talked to me about possibly interviewing. I still think, because not everybody's talked to both individuals, that we interview. But that's just my opinion. If you want to vote on this tonight, I'll vote on it, but
I don't. I think although it's an appointment, I would like to meet both candidates, have them come before the council. We can ask our questions. It's a judge that we're appointing, we're hiring. They work for us. I think we'd be foolish to move forward without this process. But
I would concur. I think it's in our best interest to meet with the candidates, to speak to the candidates, to hear their opinions.
When would this happen? Before is the next meeting December 5th?
I'm available anytime next week or the week after.
I have no problem.
Tuesday night, 6 o'clock?
Yeah, I would suggest doing it
When
before
is
then.
it?
I may not be here for the 5th, so.
December 5th.
No, we can do next Tuesday,
That's what I'm
6
saying, so
o'clock.
yeah, yes.
And put it on the December 4th agenda or December 5th agenda.
What day's that, December 4th?
Next Tuesday will be, no, December 5th is a Tuesday. So, here's my opinion. Give me 1 second. Smartphones aren't always that smart, or the operator is. We can meet on the 28th 6 o'clock, do the interviews, and put it on the agenda for the 5th.
Is this gonna be public?
Well, it depends. I mean, personally, I think there's some questions that I'd like to ask.
What? I would
Should they be
too.
public? I don't know.
I would vote to have it public.
I mean.
That's my opinion. I think this is,
The only thing about interviewing candidates, it's always a disadvantage for the first person, because the second person's in the crowd listening.
no, you don't have to put them in the
Well,
crowd.
if you make it.
If it's a public, then they're allowed to be here.
You can't remove them, so vice versa. If, no matter who you interview,
If
I
they're
can
good
ask the same
interviewers, I guess
questions.
it don't matter.
huh?
If you're interviewing them both and one's more knowledgeable than the other, I mean,
What I'm saying, Angelo, is one person can sit there and hear that person's answers and sit there in the background and take those answers, write them down and come up with a better one real quick. That's why I'm thinking that we interview each individual on their own.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Ray, I just can't have you yell from the back. I'm gonna let him speak.
Ray Lambert, 8.5 Laramie Avenue, West Warwick, Rhode Island, former municipal court judge, president, chairman of the Board of Canvassers. I have no objection to being interviewed in public, and I have no objection to being interviewed first.
Ray, your resume said Gorfav. Is it Laramie or Gorf?
That's my law office.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to do it in public. Let it lie the way the cards fall. That's my opinion. I'm only one vote.
Well, if the issue is, Mr. Lambert just made it clear, if the issue is he'll go first in a public meeting, then I think that's.
I have no objection either way.
If I just may, if you're gonna have a public meeting, are you gonna allow for public comment?
Why not?
The point is, if you have I don't know, this place sits, whatever, if it gets larger than that, you're gonna allow public comment on every person that comes here, it might turn into a very long night, a public meeting. So the question is, if you normally allow public comment at a public meeting, you might have a raucous meeting, as they say.
Maybe we'll just interview the candidates and have no public comment.
So
Could do that too. It's a council appointment.
That's simple enough.
I mean, you could always do the way we. Another option is do it the way we
Could
did
be
the
the only
council
two in
meeting.
the room. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, you could always allow for a public comment prior, so if people want to give their input, I mean, that way it's not. I don't know.
Okay, so, I have a motion to table then?
Motion to table,
Are we gonna set the date for those interviews? Is we gonna do it
28th,
28th?
6
What
o'clock, yeah,
time?
28.
The 28th, 6 o'clock.
I thought it was the 5th now. What happened?
No,
That's on the
fifth
agenda
is,
for the 5th.
yeah, we're gonna meet them beforehand.
We're gonna
So
meet
that way we
next
can appo-
Tuesday at 6 o'clock here for interviews.
And
two
the date?
individuals. We
We'll appoint on the 5th.
should be out of here in an hour and a half,
What date is that?
next Tuesday, the 28th. And then it'll be on
Mary Ann,
December
can you
5th
send us
agenda,
That's at 6 PM, correct?
6 PM.
Okay.
6 PM?
Sure will be.
Bring your popcorn.
So do I have a motion to table?
I made the motion.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Appointment for District Court Prosecutor. Resolve the Town Council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as the District Court Prosecutor.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moving second, discussion.
I'll move the name of Daniel Griffith.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Daniel came highly recommended from the police department. Many of us received phone calls and spoke to individuals on this individual, so I think it'd be a good fit.
Is he here tonight?
I'm not sure. No. I'm gonna take a roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Appointment for the Pension Board. Resolved that the Town Council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the Pension Board for the Town of West Warwick with a term to expire 11/18/2020.
I'll move the resolution.
I will second.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
I'll move the name of Helene Anderson.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
Helene is very active in the community. We met her a few months back. Her resume speaks for itself, very well qualified. To me, this is the kind of applicants we want for this position, and that's all I have to say.
I'd like to add to that. I had the opportunity to meet with Helene. She lives in my ward in late September. And I was very impressed. I mean, she's, from the first time we saw her here, clearly knowledgeable. She's an analytical person. She's very pragmatic in her thinking. She has a financial background. She's pleasant. She's well-versed. I think she will serve the board extremely well.
And Helene has promised to fix it in 5 years.
Yes.
After you hit the lottery, right?
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Helene, welcome aboard and good luck.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Appointment for the West Warwick Housing Authority. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the West Warwick Housing Authority for the town of West Warwick.
I move, before we go any further, Mr. Marsh called me before the meeting. He has to withdraw his name, so we have no candidate at this time.
Now, this is an alternate, or is this alternate position? It's not,
No, they're full members. There is no
Full
alternates.
members.
They're all full members. Remember we went over that last meeting?
It was on the ballot as
all
a
right.
full member.
But
Okay, so he
Mr.
withdrew.
Marsh had to withdraw his name,
I move,
so we moved
to
to,
strike my,
just skip this one on the
wave,
agenda.
skip it.
Reappointment for the West Warwick Housing,
Yeah.
reappointment. Resolved that the town council hereby reappoints the following individual to serve as a member of the West Warwick Housing Authority for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire 11/2022.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion?
I move the name of Josh Barrett.
I'll second.
Josh has been outstanding member for quite a few years. We chose a great guy. He brought out the good and bad in that housing authority. He's been professional in everything he did, very knowledgeable, well-respected through the community. And I don't want to give him that big of a head, so I'll stop there.
We're gonna take out both doors now. No, and again, I've worked with Josh. Every once in a while, I see him from here and there, and we have brief conversations. He always keeping us abreast, whether it's email, phone calls. If we need to know about something, he always lets us know.
That we never had before.
He's a perfect fit.
That being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Reappointment for the Juvenile Hearing Board. Resolved that the town council hereby reappoints the following individual to serve as a member of the Juvenile Hearing Board for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire 12/2021.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion?
So we have,
The only one we have, Michaela Congdon.
and then Ginny DeMasi.
What is
Is this
there?
for two positions or one?
One. Isn't it?
So
Well,
Reappointment.
these are reappointments.
It says
though.
reappointments.
Reappointments.
So I'll move the name of Michaela Condon and Virginia DeMasi.
I'll second.
They've both been serving. Virginia DeMasi's been on there for many years now. And Michaela's been on, this is her second term. So I think she's been on for 2 years now? 1 year?
Probably a year.
Okay. So,
I think, Tom, you were just coming in when I was leaving.
Yes,
we both
came in as
Right, at the same time.
Thank
And
you.
Ginny, as you said, she's been doing it for quite some time. I mean, based on her experiences in the school system, she knows a number of the kids. She's very fair. They both serve well.
hearing none. Any other comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Ward reports, 5.
Quiet in Ward 5 as of today. Nothing to report.
Good to hear. 4.
4. I have a few things. It seems to be fitting with this water report because it's the season to give thanks, and that's what I'm going to do very briefly. But I should have mentioned this at the last meeting. I thought we had a water report,
Yeah, I did the same
and we
thing.
didn't. My fault.
Wait, can we put the word report on every meeting now that the public comment goes
No.
before? We can't?
No.
No,
Okay.
hang on. So Saturday the 28th, we had a lot going on. The first annual Halloween Spookathon took place at the West Warwick Civic Center. From my count, we had approximate 400 people in attendance. And these things just don't happen out of the sky. There's a lot of work that goes involved. We received monetary donations from Pat Serper, Boyer and Associates, and Nick Cambio, along with a few constituents of mine, Pam Solers and Mutual Properties. We received gift certificates from the Panini Club, Annabelle's Cafe, Pag's Pizza, Azo's Pizza, and Coup Restaurant. What really helped to make this was the local businesses and nonprofits that show up to pass out candy to the kids. And always looking to make it bigger and better for the next year. But I think we had a really good turnout, and a big thank you to Azo's Pizza, Reed's Landscaping, Pat's Towing Service, Metro Security, Cash Advance America, Brenda Holmes Realty, West Warwick Girls Softball, Gels Kitchen, Angel in Action, Help the Homeless Rhode Island, and the JCs. They were at our trick-or-treat trail. However, it does take a lot to run it and to put it together, and that was a large part of my family doing it. My wife, my kids, Phyllis Gustafson helped out tremendously. But in the beginning, I had emailed all the council and asked them if they wanted to take part in it with their kids to create some unity. Unfortunately, I know Dave, you're away. Jay, you didn't come. But thank you to the D'Amico family for working the event, the Padula family for working the event, my family, Alexia Laporte, Olivia Licciardi, Hatroy's Nursery donated our decorations, Atlantic Trophy donated our trophies. We had some judges, which was the toughest part of the evening. Ernie got thrown into this, accepted graciously. I had to make some tough decisions as a judge. Pat Serper, along with Phyllis Gustafson, they did a great job. It was a long night. It was about 4.5 hours. I'd like to thank John Parenti for the radio play. I sounded terrible on the radio. John made me sound a little bit better, but it was really a successful night, and it was a true collaborative effort. Also on the 28th of October, during the daytime, I had mentioned this about a month ago, there was a cleanup done along the Patuxent River, alongside the fishing pier, which there's no trash on the fishing pier, but there is an unbelievable amount along the Patuxent River. And you really can't see it until you dig in. It's not a foot in. It's down deep in the water. And I stopped by, I was there for a little bit. The Patuxent River Authority was there, along with a dozen middle school age students from St. Joseph's School. And they loved it. They loved getting dirty. They loved dealing with, it wasn't litter and trash. It was tire after tire after tire. Refrigerators, old couches, old TV stands. And that was in the river. And they worked very hard. They filled, thanks Dave Lombari, he provided, I believe, 20-yard dumpster down there, walk-in dumpster. They filled it. They left tires alongside the dumpster, about 50 tires. And thank you, DPW, for picking that up. And there's still more. And this was just a small area along that river. But the PRA, you don't really notice it because they don't want the fame, they don't want the glory. They want to get in and they want to be in the thick of things and do the work. But they do a tremendous amount along the Patuxent River in Coventry, Cranston, Warwick, and West Warwick. So that was the 28th. One more in Ward 4. There's a new nonprofit in West Warwick, Angel in Action. You might have seen them on social media. It's a solo operation. It's one woman. She works tirelessly in the community. Doesn't live in Ward 4, but the reason I'm mentioning it is because she just had a bake sale. To like many other groups who are giving turkeys and baskets to those in need. And be honest with you, being involved in this type of thing, I can't believe how many people that are in need around in West Warwick, and you can't imagine it until you see the lists and you see what people don't have, and these are people that have come forward and are identified. There are so many out there that are not. And I just don't want to mention Deb Roffel with Angel in Action. There's a lot of other groups as well, but you know, she really steps up. So if you see her, she needs a donation, you may want to give. It's what for?
3.
First, I want to mention Thomas William Rogerson, 95-year-old Pearl Harbor survivor. Thank you to Pete Cottrell for bringing that to the council's attention. I think they were sharing cigars, right, Pete? Is that how you met him? One of the last remaining Pearl Harbor survivors. The council was, I was honored. One of the coolest things I've done as a councilman for all of us to be there and honor this gentleman. He was 19 years old when this happened. He's 95 now. And my son thought, I had to tell my son this. He got a picture with him. I told him it was cooler than any WWE wrestler he's ever met. Tried to give him a quick, 10-minute, as quick as you can explain Pearl Harbor in 10 minutes. But it was really awesome to be there and offer him the citation. And again, thank you to Pete for bringing it to our attention. So it was an honor. And then I want to mention the Arctic tree lighting coming up this Monday, 4:30 to 8 p.m. at the gazebo. Barbara Tabak, John J. Clark Insurance, the Arctic Village Association. They do so much to organize this event every year. Tony Petrarca is going to be there again. I'm going to get my yearly selfie with Tony Petrarca. 4:30, the John F. Deering Marching Band starts. Santa Claus arrives at 6:15. There's going to be doughboys, s'mores, pictures with Santa, free pictures with Santa. You can pick them up the next day at CVS. So hopefully we see all of you out there. That's it in Ward 3.
Thank you, Jay. Ward 2. Well, I have 2 tree lightings. One that Jay just brought up because it's partially in my ward too, or right outside of it. And Thanksgiving night, Chief, your secretary did email us today, and I apologize because my business owners spoke to the fire department and they said we're working, you're all set. So we thought we were all set for. Just confirming. Okay, thank you.
Make sure you pick up Santa, please.
Yeah, make sure you pick up Santa for both tree lightings. Thanksgiving night, 6 p.m. the festivities start. DJ, hot chocolate, all the good stuff, cookies. And that's going from 6 to 9 p.m., I think 6 to 8, or whenever the children are done with Santa Claus. Santa will be arriving at 7 p.m. and lighting the tree at 7 p.m. It looks like it's going to be about 40 degrees, so hopefully no rain like last year, and hopefully a DJ.
Yeah, weather looks nice for both tree lightings this year.
Yeah, looks good, just cold. Phoenix Square. Right across the street from Phoenix Square Diner, Hudson Cleaners, and again, those businesses down there, even though some of those businesses are having trouble surviving down there. I know Hudson Cleaners, he still donated, and you look at the businesses and how Phoenix Square Diner, Ropel Realty, they're down there now decorating. I had to leave them, but they're down there now decorating, trying to get the place cleaned up. I know Coventry Credit Union, they donate. We're going to talk about, they adopted the spot, but to be honest, they're not taking care of it, so we're going to talk to them about that, because they're now changing ownership too, which is only with Coventry Credit Union. But we have 2 or 3 businesses that want to adopt that spot if somebody else doesn't want to take care of it anymore. With that being said, going to the needy, and I normally don't bring my family into politics as much as possible, but I want to thank, there's 8 businesses, and I'll have that list actually December 5th that I want to thank. My daughter, who's 15 years old on her own, she comes to these events with me, and she got to meet Lynn St. Germain. And if I get a little choked up, I'm sorry. And she never met Brian St. Germain, along as I never met Brian either. And she came home one night, and she messaged Lynn St. Germain all on her own, didn't say nothing to me, didn't say anything to anybody in the house, and then came up to us and said, I spoke to Lynn St. Germain, and I want to do a Toys for Tots run this year in Brian's memory. And I asked her why she wanted to do that, and she goes, because I can only imagine if something was ever to happen to me like that, how you would feel. And she says, I want kids to get toys, and I want to make sure that other families receive things. And she's had a very lucky childhood per se, But she knows there's a lot of less fortunate kids out there. And so I said, okay, this is something you want to do, you got to do it. And, you know, she went on Facebook. She, with a little help of myself, I'm not going to let her go alone, you know, 15 years old. 8 businesses right here in West Warwick. Panini Club, Matos Bakery, JC's Deli, J Woo, which is in Coventry, and I know I'm forgetting 3 others, and they've all volunteered to let her put a box in their businesses for collections. So, you know, if, like Jay said, this is a time of year about giving and taking care of families. There's so many people out there. Spend a day at the food cupboard. You'll learn a lot about West Warwick, a lot that you don't know what goes on, who does what. And there's so many different toy collections right now. The JCs are doing theirs. Christmases is doing theirs. Toys for Tots is doing theirs. So again, you know, this is the time of year. And I challenge each council member to bring a toy in. You got JC's box out there. You'll probably see a Toys for Tots box out there, and you'll probably see a Christmas Is. I challenge the council to bring a toy in for the next council meeting, and let's fill up these boxes. Also, we'll send out a list of where they'll be. So, you know, and I was gonna have my daughter come here and, you know, say what she was doing, but she didn't want to be. She don't want to be recognized. But I'm a very proud father of that, and I'm glad that she's doing something on her own. And, you know, I see. And I see a lot of these kids these days, and I see these kids as our future of this town. You know, we'll be the people sitting in the crowd, bickering, yelling at them, and those kids will be up here, and we'll give them a little bit of heck.
Goslings have been on the council for 50 years.
But again, I see these kids as future leaders, and, you know, Angela, you've with Zach and all his friends coming over, you know, Nicole, you know, we see these kids growing up, and, you know, it's good to see that they're doing these special things in the community. So that's all I have in Ward 2. 1?
First of all, before I forget, the JC's there, they're gonna giving me the eye over there. I guess they missed the agenda with their tag day that they've been doing for quite a few years. And, was it Mary Ann or Paula told them for me to bring it out in a ward report where we could give them special permission. It's, Jack, what's the date on it, please?
December 1, 2, and 3.
December 1, 2, and 3.
Do it when you meet on the 28th. You can put it on that agenda.
We could put it on that agenda on the 28th.
For the 28th, we'll approve, all right.
So we'll have it on the agenda the 28th, Jack.
Thank you.
Chief, I know Christmas is coming. They do the same thing, the boot drive. I haven't seen any paperwork on that.
It was approved the last council meeting,
Okay.
I believe.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss it.
I don't know.
I haven't.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember seeing it, but we just want to confirm. If you could just
Oh,
check.
yeah, tag day, yeah, it was.
It might
There
have
were
been.
so many on there.
I just want to make sure that we don't run into that again. I know last year they ran into it. We'll just check and if it's not on, if it wasn't approved, we'll have it on Tuesday's agenda.
Okay, and another thing, Ward 1, if you go by Providence Street, the fiasco's over. We moved that contractor to Warwick. He made enough of a mess in our town. We didn't need it, and I thank Ernie for making the phone calls and making it happen. The other thing I'd like to thank my better half, Penny, Anna, True to Sons of Italy, with names that we know of that are in need, and with the help of some teachers at the school, we delivered 20 turkey baskets with all the fixings, and we're still counting. So I thank the Sons of Italy, I thank Anna, I thank Penny, I thank my son, I thank Nicole Pinga, Westgate Bakery for giving what he gives, and numerous people. But again, this community always comes together for the less fortunate, and that's what it's all about. And everybody's doing their thing, and I see more this year than I've seen any other year. So again, I want to thank everybody who participated in that. Great job, and we're going to make a lot of families happy. So thank you all again, and that's all I have. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
One quick thing on the ward reports also, I forgot to bring up. Today I took a tour with Mark Carullo and the contractors for the building owner for Lippert Mill. I know outside doesn't look like much is going on. But I was amazed when I was walking in there today, the size of the units that are going on in there. They have one bedroom, what they call studio, but it's a one-bedroom apartment. There's no, like, when people see studio, you think it's all wide open. These are actually bedrooms, bathroom, kitchen, all separate. And again, let me just look at this, my notes real quick. All windows been picked out. 65 units are gonna be installed, 27 units are in Mill 1, which is the tall building. Out of the 65 units, 28 will be working class units. Rumor has it there was gonna be Section 8, there will be 0 Section 8, what they call working class, and you can use it as, I can use Wildberry as an example. People who work hard 40 hours a week, but only making $30,000-$40,000 a year, you know, they will be subsidized. You know, they might pay $700 and the federal government might pay so much. So they're required, and when we approved it, we approved for 32 units to be workforce managed. They're gonna come back to us and actually reduce that to 28. They're actually putting less units in the building itself. There's some townhouses going in, what they call townhouse units. It's the size of a medium-sized house in some of these units, and very impressed. They were in the first section. Floors 1 through 4 were all framed and studded. They're just waiting for their closing on their finances, and then they'll have anywhere between 75 to 100 contractors working there. Within a year's time is going to be their expectations of getting that fully redone before phase 2. Yes, it will be fully sprinkled, because everybody's concern was it's a full lumber building. There's a lot of concrete floors in there, believe it or not. They're pouring a lot of concrete in there also, but it will be fully sprinklered. So they'll be protected by that also.
So within a year, they could be selling units?
Oh, yes. If the closing happens at the end of this month or December, he says about 1 year. So
Great.
they're going full bore. Right now, he wishes he was a little further ahead than what he was, but obviously banks take their sweet time and they got to make sure they get all their information. But they've been approved. DEM, everything's been approved, just waiting for funding, and they should be all set. That's the last update on Lippert Mill.
Discussion action, townwide calendar, sponsored by Councilman Messier.
Me and David talked a little bit about this, trying to organize a calendar so we kind of know what's going on in this town. And I think you kind of ran into this a little bit when your Halloween event was going at the same time as the event at the high school. And I know it didn't end up being an issue, but I think it would be great for us to have something where we know ahead of time, so we could, you know, maybe the school had did something a different day, and we don't have events running on top of each other. The craft fair was next door.
The Civic Center event.
Thank you for bringing that up. Thanks.
It wasn't really that big of a
I'm just saying,
I
like,
know.
these are things
But you're
that
right, but I think it would be a great
coordinate.
idea for us to go have somebody. This is including townwide events, school-wide events, anything going on in the community. I think if we had one person that kind of had a calendar, we could purposely plan so they don't go on, they don't conflict with each other. I know that Lori at the Civic Center offered to put it together. If anybody else has somebody in mind, I don't care who does it. I just think it's something that would help us if we had one person and one, even if it was somewhere online where we could go check. If John wants to run an event on this day and he goes, let me go see what's going on. Oh, cool, there's nothing going on this day. That way you don't have things running on top of each other.
And again, I know like the craft fair was brought up, but there was not a big parking issue
No.
as previously assumed was gonna be. And I know I drove the bus back and forth from Horgan back to the high school. How many people you drove the second half of the day?
I drove Ernie at one point. It was
Oh, you
not
got there, huh?
what they anticipated.
John was a better
It is.
driver than you. He was
I
bringing
was
more
a much
people. Just
safer
I
driver.
drove with both of you.
Seriously, it wasn't as bad as I think they expected it to be, but I do think that it's kind of nice if there's some type of coordination where, you know, we're not that we can't double book events, but at least you have an idea.
At least we know that there's a second event if something's going on. You know, you don't want to have two
Well,
Christmas.
those two events, the craft fair and the wellness fair, should have worked together, and they could have probably got the people who went to the craft fair over to the wellness
Correct,
fair.
and that's another benefit to doing that. One can help promote each other if they do it the same day.
But I will say that crafts fair, if anybody was in that who attended, I know I went through that entire high school, and I couldn't keep track of all the stuff that was there.
There's over
amazing.
130 vendors.
130
Yeah.
vendors. They, Sherry Lemery, I got to give her mother a ride and her aunt and her sister, and they said the day that the event's over, she's already planning for next year. Let me tell you, you could have did all your Christmas shopping right there at the high school.
Heard a
if you
rumor they
wanted to.
might have a spring one. That's the rumor.
All money, all proceeds go to the PTO and the school, so
Yeah, they did a great. It was a great event.
it was phenomenal. That's all. Parking, 27, geez, Jay, you got everything on here tonight. 279 and 286 Washington Street.
All right, so this issue, Jerry, if you want, is Jerry still here? If he wants to come up here, he owns the Dave's Odds and Ends, and I think actually the situation may be cleared up. I just spoke with him a little while ago, but they put in a handicap crosswalk.
They did on all, yeah, they fixed all the sidewalks.
However, they pointed the arrow in the wrong direction of where it's supposed to be no parking. And you said you received an email back from the state.
Yeah, I
right?
don't own Dave's Odds and Ends. I own the building.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
one of the owners.
Sorry, you own the building. I apologize.
Jerry Tellier, 136 Burlingame. So we own the building. There was a crosswalk there. They made it a handicap crosswalk. They put no parking signs, which takes parking away from Dave's Odds and Ends. He's
Yeah.
open like 4 hours a
Secondhand store,
day
yep.
and on a weekend, and it just destroys his business. So contacted Councilman Meshier. He followed up. I got a email from the state. They said the signs are wrong, and they need to be corrected. The arrows are pointing in the wrong direction. They should be.
Everybody's going this
They
way.
should be pointing towards the crosswalk, and they're pointing the opposite
It's supposed
way.
to, in speaking with Major Knott before, it's supposed to be no parking prior, so when you come into the traffic, not like once you pass the crosswalk. That's the reason it's for that. And like I said, we literally,
So they're gonna change the sign.
yeah,
They're gonna change it.
we literally just talked to him
And-
before this meeting.
And
we've had
actually,
a-
the second sign just got taken out, that car that went through the building. They went through the property, cleaned out the sign, and so that's in the works, and I'll follow up with Councilman Mesh.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Figured it was on the agenda. No
West
problem, thank you.
Warwick Centennial, Councilman Badula.
Okay. The reason why I'm bringing this up, I want to give some of you, most of you know, my constituents knows, my family knows. About 3 or 4 months ago, someone complained that I didn't fill out my ethics papers correctly. The person's name was Zachary Howland, Howland, from 4 Poppy Place in Warwick, Rhode Island. He put in a multi-complaint, about an inch thick. The complaints were ranging from every year from 2006 to 2016, when we fill out our ethics papers. You put what you do for a living, what organization you're involved in. So I forgot to put I was a town councilman, I think in 2016, which they knew I'm a councilman. Another time, I forgot to put that I got a stipend for being on the council. Another year, I forgot to put that I was the president of Angelo Padula and Son, Inc., which I've been since I was 15 years old. Every other year meant, this is just a political ploy that I explained to everybody. 2 of them involved are former pension members, pension board members. So what we did, the council put the Centennial Committee together. I have all the records, all the minutes, in 2013. And while they did that, this was an umbrella, supposed to have been an umbrella to the town council. Ed Giroux was the president and director. I was vice president and director. Barbara Tabak was secretary and director, and Ann Kutu was treasurer and director. Because I didn't put this down on my ethics, I met with them for 3 hours. There was things that went on that I filled them in on what's going on, and I gave them all the facts, minutes. While I was there, they asked who the attorney was for the Centennial Committee, and I said it was our town solicitor, Timmy Williamson. One of the lawyers, Teresa, she was a juicy girl, said that Solicitor Williamson said he's the solicitor, and he wasn't the attorney for the Centennial. I have here from the Department of State, Nellie Gorbea, that says, they accused me of being the president and the director, which they didn't get their facts straight. I wasn't that, I was vice president. Right here, as, let me just bring this out. Registered agent, which is Timothy A. Williamson Esquire, representing the Centennial Corp. I also gave that to the Ethics Commission. What I'm doing here, we haven't met in over a year. We have about $50,000. Where it is, I don't know. It's supposed to go to kids' scholarships. From 2013 to 2017, we were figuring on giving $1,000 per kid, 10 kids per year, which equaled to $10,000, $50,000. We have, Ann still has some memorabilia from the Centennial. The book was never done, that businesses donated to have a book. It's at a standstill.
The book's
So-
half done, the person who was doing it quit.
Right. So on that, saying that, I want this on record, that I, Angelo A. Padula Jr., resigned from the West Warwick Centennial Corporation Incorporated as Vice President dash Director, effective immediately. I am no longer have anything to do with this committee. It's a shame that you try and do things and take a lot of time. We spent a lot of time. I don't know if the correct minutes were taken. I have no idea. All I was the vice president. So whatever it is, I'll explain my side, and then everybody else can see who did what and who didn't do what. But to do something like this and to get a complaint because it's politically motivated and to try and discredit, there's nothing to discredit, people. I own the business. I'm president of the business. I'm a councilman. I get a stipend. I was a member of the Centennial Committee. I wash my hands with all of it. That's all I want to do is put this on record and save me a tape of this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Angela.
Homeless on Pulaski, final report, sponsored by Councilman Lichardi.
As you all know, last year at this time, the town council was being ready to be sworn in. And the big issue in Ward 4 was that there was a homeless encampment, some labeled it Tent City, off of Pulaski Street in my ward. A lot of panhandling. We knew the problem. They were homeless. They had very little support. There was almost a dozen individuals there. And keep in mind, this issue was there way before I became on the council. I just chose to hit the issue head on. I didn't want to maintain anything, and I'll use Angela's phrase, kick the can down the road. It just doesn't work. So we wanted to come up with a solution. And so we formed a committee, and I'm going to let Anna speak about this, about the committee. They were in touch with these individuals, and they did a great job. So.
Good evening.
Just state your name.
Anna Maria Raimondo, Outreach and Volunteer Capacity and Transformation Committee. I'd like to start this evening by thanking many agencies and workers who've worked with us tirelessly from start to completion. If it weren't for each of these wonderful agencies and workers, none of this would have been possible. So thank you to Megan Smith, social worker, statewide coordinator for Outreach House of Hope, Melissa LaCroix, social worker, case manager, outreach worker, House of Hope, and all the House of Hope path workers. Jim Silver, social worker, outreach Riverwood, Housing First, Kent Center, Anchor Recovery, interfacing with community and state agencies, SOAR, outreach, working towards housing prospects, Nancy Kelly, case manager, outreach, SOAR and PICA, Andrea Smith, outreach, Help the Homeless Rhode Island, Tracy Murphy, outreach, Wendy Dumas, outreach, Help the Homeless Rhode Island, Ruth Devitt, outreach, along with all the other outreach workers with Help the Homeless Rhode Island. Genesis Church, Leanne Jandel, John and Sharon Cambio, Kelly Capabianco, outreach. Thunder Mist Agency, and all of the community members and neighbors, West Warwick Police, Fire and Rescue, the West Warwick Town Council, and finally Joel and Allison Westman for their patience and kindness and understanding. I'm here this evening to report the status of Pulaski Street Camp. On December 20th, 2016, agencies, outreach workers, case managers, social workers, and community members came together in a collaborative effort with one goal: to help homeless individuals. It was during the holiday season that our community witnessed the true meaning of compassion. Outreach workers, PATH outreach workers, social workers, and case managers came together to offer their services. These services consisted of assessing specific needs of the client, obtaining all necessary documents, providing support in the community, transportation to and from appointments, assessing and addressing any mental health and/or substance-related issues if applicable, assistance with job search if applicable, all while working towards obtaining permanent supportive housing. These are some of the services which were offered to these individuals. Every one of the clients from this camp participated and engaged with case managers. These individuals worked intensely towards obtaining and securing housing and continue supportive services. It's my pleasure to report this evening, November 20th, 2017, less than 1 year later, that all individuals from the Pulaski Street Camp have been housed. So, tonight, we have Susan Smith and Nancy Kelly with us, two of the workers.
Thank you, and Jay, I know you got elected and walked into that storm, and good job to everybody involved. Hopefully those individuals are now enjoying their Thanksgiving in a warm home and wherever they may be, and hopefully we can continue keeping that area.
I'd like to conclude this. I saw firsthand the work that these people did, and it's not a 9 to 5 and you go home and forget about it. It's all hours of the night. It's being compassionate. It's listening. It's mentoring. It's being patient. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people over the past year about this, and many of them started off negative, and I felt I had to defend my position with this. But I can honestly say that after the new year, progress was being made, and it was slower at times. It then picked up, and it was just, I'm very proud to have been associated with this. The professionals that I've met were instrumental in changing people's lives, and you don't see a lot of that. And you're right, I didn't choose this. I walked into it, but you have to do something with something. It's there. So if you plan to ignore it, then I'm really not doing my job. So again, I'd like to thank the Westermans. I want to reiterate a little bit what Anna said, for being patient, and the West Warwick Police Department for their time and their patience and their service to these people. That's pretty much all I have.
There's no words to describe it.
Good evening. Nancy Kelly, outreach worker, formerly of West Warwick and teacher there at one time for many years, and Coventry resident. I want to thank this council. You have no idea the inside stories and things you did. I can't talk about it without filling up. You helped the people that were at the camp. You also helped the vicinity next to the camp in West Warwick and elsewhere, because the outreach workers that came there from other places went back to their towns and took your influence and used it. I know I will use it in Providence and in different places. I want to thank you for the flexibility. It was not an easy stand. Jason, it was not easy when people were questioning abroad, not this council, but just questioning, is this something we should be doing? Maybe people, are addicted and maybe it's not. And you stood your ground as a council, Anna and Jason helping us. Help the homeless. Andrea's going to speak after me. You are, aren't you, Andrea? I want you up here. The interfacing of the different people that were involved in this project, and then you call Help the Homeless and you say, can you help with this? And sometimes it's something very odd you're asking for, but it's really going to make a difference in somebody's life. And lo and behold, 3 hours later, sometimes 1 hour later, the next day, you don't wait for long and you have it. So it's a real power. I spoke to an administrator today very quickly because I wanted to get approval for something using agency names at different places. And she said, it's about community. You know, it's so powerful what you were able to do as a community. We can't always do that in different places, you know. So I thank you for being flexible and for helping when things were even harder to work against stereotypes and to work against conventions. I know it was very hard for Anna and some of us because we could not give you names. When you ask questions, when the town asks questions, how many people are there? We heard there 30 people there. There were never 30 people there. So we couldn't say anything because it was all a matter, I'm speaking to everyone in the room, it was all a matter of confidence. So you can't say someone got housed or someone is approved and will get housed in 7 weeks, even if you know it. You weren't able to say it, and sometimes Andrea and I, working on the same thing, couldn't say it to each other. Someone was approved today, big time. Someone in West Warwick that's been homeless for a very, very long time. I know that that was connected to what you people made as a decision here. That was one of the people that was not in the camp. But you know what else happened as a result of your work? The other homeless people that were sort of hanging out because they didn't know what else to do. What do you do when you're going back to the cold and the woods and no food? So of those people, and this in a minute because they've really been going on, but what do you do? So of those people, as the fourth person was no longer on the streets and had been for 5 years, as several people who had been here 15 and 20 years on the street, as those people moved on successfully because of your help, then they were like 3 and people were looking around and it was easier for the other outreach workers to work with that person. Am I overtime? Is that what you're doing? You're saying hello to somebody, or am I overtime?
They're texting me watching TV.
Okay, I approve.
No.
So anyway, thank you very much. I know other people in the state will be looking at your work.
I'd like to, one thing that was very touching, and we all thought, everyone that was sitting here, you could see it on our faces, are we doing the right thing? Are we doing the wrong thing? Do some of them really want to help themselves? Do they want to stay like that? No matter how much you help them, they're not going to want to do anything else but that. But when you get texts from the homeless with their Obama phones, and I saved them, thanking me for having confidence in them, and one lives in an apartment, got a great job, another one moved in with another individual, they're both working, they're doing well, and they thanked me for having confidence in them, and that's what made it touching, and I appreciate all the work you did, because each and every one of them, as you can see, they're not there anymore. They all wanted help, they took advantage of it, and they're on that straight and narrow path, and great job.
A person who hasn't worked in years is going to tutor in physics, in high-level math, probably at Brown University.
Wow.
A genius, very smart, smarter than I ever thought of being, and I think I'm okay. So I just thank you for helping us get rid of the stereotypes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Andrea Smith, Help the Homeless RI. I just want to ditto the thanks that Anna said to all of the agencies, Riverwood, House of Hope, Nancy Kelly, but I want to thank Anna and Jason and the town council. I appreciate your understanding and compassion and patience with this whole situation. And I had the opportunity, on Monday, ran into one of the first chronic homeless folks that was housed. I ran into him at Riverwood. He was a client, and the difference in how he looks and how he sounds was just incredible. I almost didn't recognize him. And there's just something in their eyes that's so different. There's no more pain and suffering, there's joy. And it's something they really have not experienced in so long. And another couple that recently housed, the same thing. They were very happy to be able to just go out and take their dog out and play with their dog, which they haven't been able to do in the longest time because they're always worried about where they're going to get their food and whether they're going to be cold tonight, what's the weather going to be, do we have to worry about the wind, and all of that stuff is now gone, and they can relax and enjoy life. So thank you all very, very much. I really appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea.
And again, acts of kindness go a long way. You know, again, you don't know what a person's going through in their life. And again, you know, as we're sitting up here as council members, I do recall a year ago, there were a couple of residents from the area who were very against that. And they were upset with us because we were trying to do what's best for everybody. And that's sometimes a tough decision up here that we have to make.
Patience is a big thing.
And acts of kindness, and, you know, and this has nothing to do, it has something to do with a little bit of homeless, but, you know, this weekend I was working in my ward and I was doing community service, and a resident who saw it on Facebook came down with a box of donuts and a box of Joe. His name's Pete Cottrell. He's done a lot in the past couple of weeks. He and I sat there and talked for a little bit while I was, you know, working. He was on the park bench. His dog was there. I said, Pete, you take the donuts, I'll take the coffee at the end of it. And I was packing up my truck. And I went around the passenger side, and there was a homeless guy sitting on the stairs just waiting for a bus. I looked at him, I said, sir, I got this coffee. You want this coffee? And I handed him the coffee and the box of cream and all that. He's drinking right out of the box just to stay warm. It was a 35-degree day. But that was 2 acts of kindness. A resident who came down and gave me the coffee. Instead of me taking it home with me, I gave it to an individual. But Pete doesn't even realize how far that coffee went. First of all, to me, and then to a homeless guy. I just wanted to share. I didn't share that story with Pete. Pete got in his car. He didn't see me. I handed the coffee to the gentleman, and he was very thankful. So, you know, again, acts of kindness goes a long way, and it helps everybody. Thank you.
Permanent Christmas tree at Arctic Gazebo, sponsored by Councilman Messier.
Barbara wants to come up and speak, but every year for the past 9 years, Barbara Tabak goes out and searches for a Christmas tree to put up in Arctic. You know, we got to discussing that maybe, you know, first of all, I want to say the trees, typically the trees that Barbara finds are not ones that people want there anyway. Most of them are troublesome. Maybe they're impeding on a fence or near a house or something like that. Barbara searches long and hard. She probably was already in the search for next year's tree. So in speaking with State Rep Jared Nunes, he offered to donate money towards a permanent tree for next year, so that we don't have to go through this process every single year. And it would not be, the one we have now is in the center. It would not be there. It would be kind of off to the side. It wouldn't be as large as the one we have now. But I think since, you know, you've been doing it for 9 years, maybe you want to add some insight into this and how you feel about this. We of course, we talked about it before I put it on the agenda, but.
Yes. Barbara Tabak, Chudgeon Street, Arctic. I've been doing it for 9 years, and it has been difficult to locate trees, and we've always been successful. But there's a lot of controversy a lot of times about the trees. People think that we're just cutting trees for a one-night fun. We've had to have that conversation several times through the years. But it just makes sense, I think, that we really seriously think of purchasing a tree. It will take donations and so forth, and I'm willing to get out there and do some looking for money. And
the AVA is the one that puts the money towards this event right now too. It's not people. It's not something that the town is funding. Yeah, I just want to specify that.
Correct. The Arctic Village Association, which is comprised of business owners in the Arctic District, are the ones. We're the ones that do the lighting 100%. But obviously, we have the help of, for all these years with Jared. Jared Nunes has always donated his time with his men to cut the tree and bring the tree and get it in. And we have to thank the Public Works and Fire, the firemen. They've all helped throughout this whole thing, and this takes a lot of hours, a lot of effort, involves a lot of people. But I think that we're at a point in time where it does make sense to be seriously thinking about planting a tree. I think that it's always been somewhat of a problem, and this year you're gonna see a real problem. It's a giant tree. You just can't even see the gazebo. You can't see the gazebo.
Ideally, we'd have it kind of towards the, if you're looking at the gazebo, there's some area to the right, where there's a few areas where we
That's
could put
available.
a more permanent tree, and that way you can see the gazebo.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's a shame, and not only that you don't see the gazebo, as beautiful as the tree will be, any entertainment like Judy T's studio that performs, you have to be on the opposite side of the tree to even know something's going on, and the trees are usually so big.
This one is
that
huge. This is probably the
you
biggest you've
can't-
had,
It is
correct?
the biggest.
Yeah.
You can't even hear the music if you're on the other side of the tree. It's that big and it blocks the sound. So I mean, there's a lot of reasons, you know.
So you went overboard, you said.
Yeah, well, yeah, we located a really good tree, and it definitely needed to come down.
Barbara, she, like, it was in somebody's backyard, so I don't know if Barbara was scouring backyards.
I will tell you, Barbara and I have had conversations in the past, and, you know, I've given her ideas of trees, and she's always looking, like you said. I will tell you, being the councilman who had to transplant a tree last year, that wasn't cheap, and shopping around for trees at a decent size was not cheap. And we actually had a couple people willing to donate trees to us, but again, I'm trying to remember who, Northeastern Tree Service, they came in with a scoop. They took out a tree from Kevin O'Connell's yard, who donated that tree. You know, problem is planting that tree, and you know, you're moving it from one spot to the other. It's got a crooked base. You know, you end up with a lot of trouble.
Yes.
So, with that being said, you know, you're gonna be shopping around for a tree. You might want to look long and hard, like at Layden's, and see what they have.
I will. That's
Unplanted and possibly able to plant it, because I do have a little bit of a crooked tree in Phoenix.
And this is why we put it on the agenda now, so, you know, we're a year ahead of time to at least put the
I
wheels
will,
in
but
motion.
it'll involve, you know, having the approval, obviously, of the council to begin with. We're going to be, you know, moving things around on the property there at the gazebo, and I imagine it'll implicate the electrical too, that's, you know.
Well, you'd have to run power to it.
So that
and-
it's, you know, because it's all down underneath at the moment, and,
Do the lights stay on the Phoenix tree all year now? Still like previously?
Don't get me started.
yeah, don't ask those
You
questions.
know what was funny?
They-
When I seen the picture of the tree you picked, Jim Thomas, our former town manager, that really was a really jolly guy that brought this to our attention 9 years ago. He got the ball rolling, and he flew to a neighboring state where he is and got a 58-foot tree. And it was cut like ours, and then it happened with you, and I said, Jim, we're trying to compete with you, and I sent him a picture of that, but I didn't hear from him yet. But in other words, you know,
I
it
was gonna
just
say that, yeah,
kept
he wanted a big tree.
big.
Because he had one in Old Orchard Beach, and he
Yeah.
thought it was a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So nobody argued. I was gonna plan a big Christmas celebration that year. I said, well, that goes fine with a big tree.
There is
And now
by
we've got
far
it.
one of the best-looking trees that I've seen, perfectly formed, is on Elbow Street. And the house is owned by the bank, and
Is that right?
I'll tell you, if you can get that tree, I
There you
wanted
go,
that.
Barbara, that's where you're going tomorrow, go to Elbow Street.
That's
I
looked like it
personally
was
wanted that,
trimmed.
I personally wanted that tree, but when Mr. O'Connell offered his,
Yeah.
I let Tony Duffy decide which one he wanted, or which one was best. And the reasons behind Kevin's tree was, you know, he obviously wanted to take it away from his house, but he also planted that with his granddaughter, who
Yeah.
at the time was battling cancer. And he wanted to keep that tree somewhere in town where he wouldn't lose it. So at that point, Elbow Street went down the drain very
Yeah.
quick, and
Yeah, I
we said
can
we'll take that
understand that.
tree on in her behalf. So, and she was there lighting the tree last year. I understand. I know it's a lot of work, headache, shutting down roads, getting there. A lot of work on the DPW. I think it would be better as a permanent tree. It's just a matter of where, how, and what expense.
Exactly.
You know, if somebody's willing to donate and the AVA's doing it, you know, then we can look at it and you can see what's around.
Okay.
We can go from there.
All right, thank you, and you will be hearing from me, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Bob.
Thank you.
Upcoming,
Upcoming appointments, Planning Board, an alternate member for a 5-year term, Technology Committee, Ward 2, 3, 5, all to expire on 12/31/2018. Sewer Use Tax Board Review, West Warwick Housing Authority, Sewer Use Tax Board of Review, Pension Board, one term to expire on 11/18/2020, one term to expire 11/18/2019, and two to expire 2021. Juvenile Hearing Board, two with the term to expire, which we just appointed. Board of Assessment Review, and that is it.
Motion to
Before
adjourn?
we go,
Oops,
before
sorry.
we adjourn, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving on
Happy
behalf of the town
Thanksgiving.
council.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Enjoy the holidays, be safe, and have fun. And see you at the tree lighting. so-
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So.
You too.
Be there on,
Yeah.
Thursday night?
Yeah.